good values, or if we can find such good values in presidential system, so the presidential system can become Khilafah. If we see and find such good values in the parliamentary system in the society, so that parliamentary system can be easily become a Khilafah, or we can call this is Khilafah. So then what is Khilafah for what there is, a number of people or there are group or society or organization they are asking for. Khilafah is Niyaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khilafah is Ittiba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khilafah is following the principles of Sharia. Khilafah is following the principle of Quran and Sunnah. Khilafah is being pious. Khilafah is being responsible. Khilafah is being representative of Allah Almighty and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And on the other hand, Khilafah is being representative of the general public and audience down there in the country where you are ruling. So any model can become a Khilafah which is on the lines of Ittiba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which are in the lines and on the lines of the Khilafah, on the lines of the Ittiba and following of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and following of the preachings given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is actually, we say, the Khilafah, and as I mentioned, like we have 4 different kind of models we have seen in the first 36 years of Islam, and that gives us message. We can always play with the models, but the point is we cannot move from the provided basic principles of Islam, which is democratic principle, which is the respecting the rights of freedom of the community, respecting the right of democratic right, respecting the right of expression, respecting the right of minorities in the country, respecting the right of general human, respecting the right of women in the country, respecting the right of animals in the country, respecting the right of children in the country. Like if you are actually respecting the rights and taking care of each other's rights, and nobody's rights are neglected in your governance, that is the Muslim governance. That is the Islamic political system. If you are really following the basic provided principles of Islam, and in those principles are in the following and ittiba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now I'll be mentioning here a few examples from the life of first 4 caliphates and the life of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that how those khulafa and those leaders of Muslims, they used to practice and exercise the democratic values there. As today, the West claims that they have given the democracy, but interestingly, we see the democratic values and the right of democracy has been given to humanity 1400 years ago. Even if we see today, the West in America specifically claims that they are the first to give the right of expression and right of voting and right of being a member of parliament to a women. They are the first, but interestingly, we see in Islamic history 1400 years ago, the Muslim was a member of parliament in Medina. So it was not just the right of voting, it is about the right of becoming a member of parliament. And it was that there. When Sayyidina Usmani radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when his elections were going on and it was a general voting from the public of Medina Munawwara, so we see in the history, Ibn Kasir has mentioned it, that the men, women and reasonable children in the age of Balugha, they all voted for Hazrat Usmani Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Like in the time of Usmani Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu, women had the right to vote for their president. And if somebody says that right has been given today in any country, so that is not true. And then how those Khulafa Rashidin, they used to respect the democratic values. Before that, I want to mention few terminologies. As we say, the Parliament and Senate, like in Britain, there is the House of Lords and then there is House of Commons. In America, we see there is Parliament and then there is a Senate. In Pakistan, we see there is a parliament and then there is Senate. So similarly, in those days, such terminologies were used in the time of Khulafa Rashideen. And what those terminologies were? There were Shura Khas and then there was Shura Am. So Shura Khas represents today's Senate and Shura Am represents the parliament of today. So it is not about the terminology as I have mentioned, it is about the working of that institution, how that institution works, and how even today we see the election commissioner. What election commissioner exercise? He is responsible for the fair elections and all the dealing in the time of elections, how to deal with the voting and all related administrative issues are dealt by the election commissioner. The same thing was done in the time of Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The election commissioner was appointed. And he was responsible to conduct all those elections, the general elections and the voting and the results, each and everything related to the setup and system. So we find all these modern terminologies, modern system, modern values lying back 1400 years ago in Islamic political system and Islamic political exercise model. So what we, and then as I mentioned, Shura Am, Shura Khas. So they used to have a parliament, they used to call it Shura Am, and then there was a senate, they used to call it Shura Khas. And then the women, the ladies, they were not just the member of parliament, they were exercising the right of sharing their opinion in legislation. Once in the time of Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, there was a case about the mahar, the money which is committed to your wife at the time of nikah and marriage. So what they did, Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they wanted to pass a legislation, they wanted to approve a legislation that there should be a limit on that money. So there was a member parliament, that lady there in the parliament, she responded to that legislation and she said, if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't put any limit on it, so how you can? And then she argued on it. And his argument was accepted and appreciated by the members of the parliament, and that legislation was dropped. So in Muslim political system, it is not just about talking, it is not just about the model. The members and in system, they have been exercising such rights in Islam, in Islamic political system. So, and as I mentioned, the Shura Am, Shura Khas, even if we see the Pakistani constitution, so we see such thing that whenever it is written the parliament, in Urdu language it is written Shura there. So it is one in the same thing, I mean the same technology, the terminology goes on, it doesn't make any difference. The most important thing is actually, what is the function of that institution which is considered in Islamic or which is related to or which is a part of a political system. And then when we discuss the first 36 and a half years of Islamic system, Islamic political and democratic system, so we find it was more evolutionary process. Today, people have a question, they ask if first to, like the appointment of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala, people try to say that was not democratic, properly democratic. They say, okay, we can agree that the appointment of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala was a proper democratic appointment, or appointment of Sayyidina Usman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala was a proper democratic appointment. But they don't consider the appointment of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala or the appointment of Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala as a proper democratic appointment. That, as I have mentioned, that had a spirit of democracy into it, because later on, after the appointment, they had a bay'ah of general bay'ah, the voting from the general audience and public of Medina Munawwara. But as I have mentioned, the Islamic political system is more like an evolutionary one. Because when Islam came And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the first head of the state to give a proper constitution to any state on the earth. Islamic state of Medina was the first state to have a proper written constitution, which was Misaq Medina. Other than that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when brought the values and preaching of Islam, when the Islam was spreading in Arab, that region was actually controlled and ruled by different small kingdoms there.